ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Thursday, March 14th. Your drive begins right now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're going to open up our text line like we always do this hour at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let me set up the show for you today. Coming up this hour, Mahogany Matthews is going to join us as we get set to celebrate the Herd's victory against James Madison with a bid to the NCAA tournament. That's going to be coming up on Sunday. We'll find out, and that will be at the Student Center. The watch party begins at 7. The show comes on at 8, so we'll know after the party has well been underway. We'll know sooner than later where the Herd's going to go in the tournament. And then, of course, we'll see what's going to happen in the NCAA. I think the Herd might have a shot at winning some games. I would love to see the Marshall women just go into that tournament and become the darling of it. Maybe become a Sweet 16 participant. Who knows? Marshall could get hot. Maybe get to the Elite Eight. Who knows? Maybe be one of those darlings that gets to the Final Four. Who knows? Wouldn't that be something? But the Thundering Herd having the opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament after winning not only the regular season championship, but punching the ticket with the tournament victory. So, Mahogany Matthews joins us coming up in the next few minutes. And we've got a lot to get into today as far as Marshall basketball news is concerned. Transfer portal, it is going on right now for the Thundering Herd. First up, earlier today, we found out through X that Pete Moe making his announcement that he has entered the transfer portal and he retains 4 years of eligibility. 6'9" redshirt freshman, so we didn't get a chance to see him. You might have heard about him, those practice reports you see on the internet. You might have heard about him. Potential. Here's what he looks like in practice. You might have heard about him, but for the majority of us, for the majority of people just go to the basketball games, watch them on TV, or go to the game, or even listen on the radio. You didn't see him because he wasn't out there this year. So he really didn't get a chance to make an impact for the Thundering Herd, and you'll never know now if he would have been able to make an impact for the Thundering Herd. And then probably the bigger loss today, most definitely the bigger loss, Marshall guard Cam Crawford, making it known today. He was speaking with the folks over at the Portal Report and on Twitter today, or X, making it known that he intends to enter the transfer portal. And here's what you're losing with Cam Crawford. And I think we're losing more than what the stats actually show. So he started 2 games. He was in 24 games, started 2 games. And he averaged a little over 17 minutes, actually closer to 18 minutes a game. So when he was out there, he would get about 17, 18 minutes a game. He shot .372, made 71 out of 191 attempts. So his shooting percentage, .372. 3-point shooting, .315, 23 of 73. Free throws, he was a .721 shooter, 31 of 43. He had 58 rebounds, 21 on the offensive glass, 37 on the defensive glass, so an average of 2.4, almost 2.5 rebounds. He also accounted for 34 assists, committed 43 turnovers, had 4 blocks, 19 steals, and he had a total of 196 points, average of 8.2. He was also the 5th leading scorer on the team. 24 games, fifth leading scorer by average on the team. Now, Jacob Connor, he scored more, but not by much. But his average is lower. He was in more games. He was in 33 games. He scored 200 points. So his average is 6.1. Crawford, in 24 games, 196 points. Fifth leading scorer on the team with over 8 points a contest. The player with the next highest amount of points was Nate Martin. He was in 33 games, started all 33 games, and he had an average of 10.8 and 355 points. I think that this is going to be a bigger loss than Mo. We didn't know Mo. We didn't get a chance to really grow attached to him as a player. He's one of those you never know now. Potential there, sure. What could have been, we'll never know. So players will come, players will go. Didn't get playing time, didn't like the way the team was going, didn't like the opportunities he was getting, whatever the case may be. He's no longer on the team. But Cameron Crawford, that's going to be one that hurts because I had high hopes for him. I was hoping that Marshall would use him more. I was hoping that Dan would get him out there more. And there were times where you would ask me, hey, where's Cameron Crawford? Is he playing today? When's he going to play? When's he going to get out doghouse? Yeah, that was some of the things we heard. I get asked, how bad is Crawford in the doghouse? Because he's not out there. Obviously, he can play. And he was your fifth leading scorer. Technically sixth in points, but only by 4 did Jacob Connor score more. But by average, he was your fifth. And if he was out there more, maybe he could have done more. And maybe he could have been a bigger asset to the Thundering Herd. So that's disappointing to me to see him go in the transfer portal. Now, of course, we might see more, we might not. You know how this thing goes. And I know there were reports out there. Some of you were asking, well, when we're going to hear something about Dan D'Antoni. And then, of course, it was out there. There were a couple of reports that Dan is not going anywhere. We haven't seen a statement released from the university talking about the basketball program the way that football was talked about after the season. You know that statement that came out? There was the statement talking about the direction of the program, and then there were some changes in the coaching staff, and of course, Marshall getting an opportunity to go to a bowl. No opportunities exist here for Marshall, no postseason play, and honestly, I wouldn't take a postseason opportunity if it wasn't the NIT. I wouldn't take any of the lesser tournaments just because there's no value to me there. And with the transfer portal, players can come, players can go after the season's over. Unless it's the NCAA tournament, I don't know how many players are sticking around. There might be some that stick around for the NIT. If they plan on leaving, they're probably leaving. And so you get into a point where, all right, we're now in a tournament that doesn't mean anything compared to even the NIT. Players decide to leave, and I don't see the value in those. It's either the NCAA tournament or it's the NIT for me, and where the players, I don't know where they're at individually, but we see at least a couple players leaving the team today. Will there be more? That's going to be the big question. All right, we're going to leave some time for you. Our text lines this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Still to come, we're going to talk women's basketball. The women are getting set for the NCAA tournament. Mahogany Matthews is joining us a little bit later in the program, but we'll have time for you when we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We've got our text line ready to go. And just in case you just joined us, it's open at 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's go to our text line. First up, texter writes in and says, Paul, I like Coach Dan D'Antoni. I'm sure not a visionary, but I see NCAA sports going sideways. It's a different game now. And, Paul, you have some expert texters. They know everything. But I can't see any of the Elmores, including Gay Elmore, as the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. Coach Dan has mojo. So, some good support out there for Dan D'Antoni today. Texter also says, but Dan has to win. And the same with football coach Charles Huff. So they've got to win. That's obvious. They've got to win. That's their job. We keep score, so they have to win. Anything you keep score in, winning is important. If we weren't worried about wins and losses, we wouldn't keep score. But since we do keep score, the wins and losses are the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Because everything else that comes with it should already be. It's what I expect. So if you have high GPA, you have students that are being successful in the classroom, students that are being successful in the community, I expect all of that. That's not even a bullet point for me. You have to be doing that. Because that's the threshold for me. All of that great stuff, that's the threshold for me. If you're not even meeting that, you're just not doing your job. And so I think as a head coach, you're responsible for that automatically. And if you're not doing that well, then we do have a problem. But I expect student athletes to succeed. I expect the university to give student athletes all the tools that they require to succeed, not only on the field of play or in the arena, but also in the classroom, also to develop as leaders, as to develop as members of the community. All of that stuff I expect. And so if you're not meeting that threshold, you're not doing a good job. So that's what I expect automatically. But winning has to be a part of that equation because you're keeping score. So whatever happens, the next coach that comes in for whatever sport, all of that stuff they need to continue to do. And if the program's not succeeding in those aspects, it needs to first and foremost. But then, your job longevity, however long you're going to be here, is going to be dictated by a couple of things, and that's including how many wins you can produce on a yearly basis, how many championships can you win for the university. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's our text line to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Get a busy weekend coming up. Not just with the watch party on Sunday, but of course, tennis is back in action at Marshall. Softball is going to be hosting a 3-game set this weekend. And that'll be against Georgia Southern. Baseball's on the road this weekend. And I believe that's also at, I think that's at Southern Miss. So softball's got Georgia Southern. Baseball's got Southern Miss. And then, of course, tennis is going to be in action. It's going to happen Friday in Barboursville at the Tennis Center. And that's going to be against Troy. And then on Sunday, the Tennis Center on campus will play host to Marshall and Georgia State. So we've got a busy weekend. And, of course, after that, Sunday, I hope to see many of you at the Student Center for the watch party for the Thundering Herd to find out where they will be playing in the tournament and the first opponent. And coming up in the next few minutes, we're going to be speaking with Mo Matthews. We'll talk to her about the tournament and, of course, looking ahead to the NCAA tournament. She's got a pretty good perspective. She's been with the program for a while now, so she's seen some of the things that are happening before, the changes that are being made. She's got an interesting point of view. And, of course, how difficult must it have been for her to be on the bench while that game was in overtime? along with Abby Beeman. How difficult was that for her? So I want to talk to her about that. So I'm looking forward to having her on the show here in the next few minutes. And so what I want to do, we're going to take our commercial break early. And so when we come back, we're going to have her ready to go so we can talk a little longer with her. And we'll find out what she has to say about winning the tournament and then going to the NCAA tournament. My guest, Mahogany Matthews, when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 at AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to our Thursday edition of the show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. All this week we've been talking about Marshall's victory against James Madison in overtime to win the Sun Belt title. 95-92. It was a hard-fought game, but the Thundering Herd coming out on top. And, of course, one of the key players all season long for the Thundering Herd is now with me. She's one of the leaders on this team, one of the veterans, Mahogany Matthews. Mo Matthews is with us. How you doing, champ?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I wanted to ask you, because you were one of two players that were sitting with 5 fouls on the bench in that overtime period. I know how hard it had to be for Abby to sit there. How tough was it for you to be sitting there as the game is going on? It's overtime. You can't do anything about it.
It was very difficult because I knew that they still had big players on the floor. So it was like, hopefully, like our defense, the full court press will help us get the ball back, so they weren't able to get the ball in the paint. And that's what we did. And I was praying to God on the bench. We were just all hugged up as a team, and we succeeded.
How much coaching were you doing on the sidelines?
As much as I could. I to be honest, I think they didn't hear us because we were just in emotions. They were just going back and forth. But everybody on the team on the sideline was trying to put people in places, and it worked out.
So now you're a champion. You're a double champion. You get to win the regular season championship, which I know that was something special for you to finally have that trophy. And then all the expectations were to win the tournament. So there was even more pressure because this team wasn't even regarded as one of the top 10 team, top 8. I mean, you picked 9th in the poll. And now you're champ. So I know there wasn't any pressure on the regular season, but for that tournament, how'd you maintain that composure of doing what you did in the regular season, knowing that everybody was gunning for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, we just wanted to stay the course. We knew that every game was going to be difficult, but if we just buy in and just stay how we always played for the conference, we would do what we had to do. I just feel like we just stay the course. Even when other teams went up 10, 15, we still was believing in Coach Ken's game plan, and it always works out because they get tired. We still in the conditioning. We get the steal.
What's this journey been like for you? You've been around a while. That's something that a lot of players can't say these days with the transfer portal and the way that there's a lot of movement. But not only have you been around for a while, you stayed the course. Most of your teammates did so as well. So you've seen this program from where it was a few years ago to where it is now. What's that journey been like for you and that transformation?
Ooh, well, that's when the journey was ups and downs. When I first transferred here, I couldn't play, so I had to sit out. And then the next year was COVID. So transferring to that, and then the next after COVID, I got hurt again. And then we played, but the journey was difficult. We were good, but then it's like where we was iffy. And then last year, we did okay. We always was losing games by 2 points or 3 points. But then Coach Kim came in and turned the whole program around. Beginning of the season this year, we was up and down because we really didn't believe in the system. But when we believed in the system, it went amazing. We didn't lose. We was blowing people out by 20. But to be honest, it's been a journey for me.
You said you didn't believe in the system at first.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
what in particular? What was the doubt there?
I think the doubt was because basically her system is a full we press for 40 minutes. So it's like sometimes teams was beating the press with the long pass, and it was like, is this really going to work or is it not going to work? Then that confusion, that frustration went on the offensive end, and then we kept losing to teams that we was not supposed to lose to. So, but since we all came together as a team, we sat down and said, we just have to believe and trust it. And when we believed and trusted, it worked out for the good.
So that was the Florida game that maybe it all came together?
Yes, yes.
And then you go on this amazing run, and then you lose to James Madison at home,
Mm-hmm.
and you get into the tournament as the number one seed, and you're looking across the bracket. There they are on the other side. So you know if you see them, it'd be in the championship game. Did you will that? Were you hoping and praying that, okay, let's get this team. We want this redemption game.
I think some of us, since I didn't, as for me, since I haven't played them this conference, I wanted to play them because last year, the two times we did play them, I was hurt, so I wanted to play them, and because that's the only team we lost to, so I wanted to play them, help my team out to win this game. But I think it was between James Madison and Troy, and we was like iffy which one we wanted to play.
It's challenging. And I know you're
Mm-hmm.
picking which one you want because James Madison beat
Yeah.
this team, so you want to get that one back, obviously, and you want to play the very best. And you
Mm-hmm.
had a lot to choose from. And for you personally, just your perseverance, how easy or how difficult was that, knowing that you want to play, you don't want to give up, and they want you. Your teammate wants you. It's not okay. We'll do okay without her. It's we got to get Mo back. We got to get Mo back.
Mm-hmm.
How helpful was that, knowing that they were behind you 100% to make sure that they got you back and could get you 100%?
I think it was amazing that they were still wanting me back, but I felt like me coming back to the game, I didn't want to mess up the rotations and how they're playing together since I was out for like 9 games. So I was kind of iffy if I wanted to come back or not because they was winning. They was blowing people out by 30s and 40s, so I didn't want to mess that up. But then I was like, Mo, you can add to this production. So I was like, I didn't even worry about the offense. I said they could do the offense. I just wanted to worry about the defense. Like sometimes the big players score on top of us. So I was like, I can handle that right there.
You had 5 blocks in that game.
Yes.
The team had 5 blocks, all yours.
Yes.
And so you did play your role, and now you're a champion. You get to celebrate for a few more days. Now, I understand Coach gave everybody a couple of days off, and now you're back at it, right? Yeah, she didn't let off the gas today, did she?
No, it was hard. It was hard.
Is this the hardest you've ever had to work for a coach?
Oh, most definitely. At the beginning of the season, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. But then she got us in shape, and then it's still hard, though. It's still hard, but we still have the go in us.
And knowing Coach, the way that she's competitive, she talked about throughout this year that when you had downtime or you didn't have a game, like when the Mid-American Conference was playing the Sun Belt in that challenge and Marshall wasn't involved, instead of getting days off, she worked you harder.
Yes. We say when Coach Kim have a week just straight practice and no games, that is the hardest week we have. So now to selection day, we're going to be working our butts off.
And just that moment, you're going to be sitting watching Selection Sunday, and that's going to be a moment that you'll always remember when you hear Marshall's name called. Is the anticipation right now just killing you?
Yes. I was waiting for this since I was a little girl. I've been in college for, I'm going to say, 6 years, and then we finally got to what we wanted.
And the fact that women's college basketball is getting the respect that it should now. More people are watching it, not just Marshall. And now what has happened at Marshall has been tremendous, and you're a part of that. But as a women's basketball player, you're getting respect now that maybe sometimes that fans just didn't understand, maybe didn't know the game was this good. Just how's that make you feel seeing the way college basketball, not just Marshall, but in general, has grown, and the support that is really been generated by, I mean, it's come out of nowhere, it feels like, but here it is. Everybody now knows that women's college basketball is real.
I think it was amazing. The time was coming. We put in the work like the men does. So for everybody now to see how women's basketball is growing and supporting, that's amazing.
It's also, you're not just, okay, hey, we've got the men's team and then there's the women's team as well. I mean, it's the women's basketball team. You are getting equal support and maybe sometimes different support because you stand on your own. People realize now that this team is standing on its own, and that's got to be just an amazing feeling because the support is there. It's probably better than most schools in the league. Yes.
I was shocked how many fans we had coming to our games because previous years we would probably have, I don't know, around 300, 400, but then I think our record was 2,000 something, I think. And then I just feel like it makes us play even harder.
My guest, part of the Sun Belt Conference champions, Mahogany Matthews. You got to hoist that trophy twice now. You're now getting set for the championship. Everybody's been super supportive. You even get to do the trophy swap out twice now. I mean, that's got to feel good to go over and just swap that trophy out and maybe put a third one there now if you can.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to? Starting with Sunday, when you find out the opponent, what are you looking for this experience? I know you're in it to win it, but this will be the first time you get to go to the NCAA tournament. As coach, starting to maybe prepare you how to go about this. What are those conversations like?
Conversation is we're focused on ourselves right now for this week, and then when selection day, we see who we play. I think everybody's excited. We're ready. We're going there to win. We're not going to be scared. I know they're going to be bigger teams, but we're going to play our butts off, try our best. Whatever the outcome is, I know it's the last game, but they're still my teammates. We're going to do what we've got to do and to win.
And this team's got the confidence. It's not, hey, we're excited to be there. We're happy to be there. It's, we're here. You should be worried about us, right? It's that's more the approach, that the opponent should be more concerned that they're playing Marshall, not you concerned about your opponent.
Yes.
And this style really lends itself to that, especially with new opponents that maybe have seen it on film but have never experienced it. How would you describe it to someone who's never maybe seen it before? I'm not saying give the secrets away, but it's overwhelming. If you're across from you, trying to defend you and trying to defend this, it looks fast, but it's more than just that. It's intense. Hockey shifts are probably the best way I can describe how frequently you change out and put fresh five out there.
As I could say, because we press in practice all day. It's very difficult because you have two people coming at you and you can't see where the pass is. And when you see a person, our team steals it, so it's kind of difficult. The subbing, I kind of like it because you catch your breath and you come in and produce how you want to, and you get out and then somebody else does it. So it's kind of amazing how she does it and how it works. It's just amazing.
Have you found that's created more unity on this team? Because nobody's worried about their playing time. They know they're going to play, and they better be ready because their name's being called in maybe a minute.
Yes. Our chemistry is amazing because nobody's seeing the other person how they, like, I'm the star. Everybody's a star on this team because everybody produces, everybody plays defense. It's just, we're all together.
Was that not the case maybe in years past? I mean, is the culture completely changed now?
The culture has definitely changed. As I could say, previous years where it was mostly like you put the ball in somebody's hands, but now everybody touches the ball. Everybody can score. She doesn't care who scores, who doesn't score. She likes everybody shooting the ball.
My guest, Mahogany Matthews. Now, Sunday, it's going to be 7 o'clock at the the Memorial Student Center. And you're going to be signing autographs, so everyone's encouraged to come out, support you. Hopefully we get a big crowd. I know there was a great showing when you arrived tired after winning the championship and coming back on the bus. So we hope we get a bigger crowd there. 8 o'clock selection show, and then right after we find out, is Kim going to have you – I'm sorry, Coach Caldwell. Is she going to have you go right back to the practice and start practicing probably, at 8:30? Is that the game plan probably for her?
We practice before the selection show.
Okay, so she's not going to go, okay, this is who we're playing. Now I know. Let's go.
But we have practice the next day, though.
Okay. Definitely. Is it one of those early ones? You got better practice time now. I know early in the season you were getting up way too early for practice.
Yes, 7 o'clock every day.
See what happens?
But now,
you win championships, you can go practice when you want to, right?
Yes. Now we're practicing around 12:31.
That made a big difference, didn't it?
Yes. Yes. Because practicing at 7 o'clock every day was kind of hard, but we pushed through.
You think that's going to happen ever again? 7 a.m. practice?
It might.
Just one or two?
Schedules.
Yeah, one or two maybe. But no, I think good things are coming your way and this team's way, and you're a big part of this. I mean, you get to look back, years from now and just see the journey. And this is the start of something really, really special at Marshall. But it didn't happen yesterday, and you were a big part of the journey to it. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Good luck Sunday. Hopefully, we find out where you're going is close by, so a lot of Herd fans can travel. And then let's get you a championship. And I want to have one more trophy ceremony. Okay, just one more.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mo. Appreciate it. Mahogany Matthews, Marshall, getting set for the NCAA tournament. We'll find out Sunday. That'll be at the Student Center. Watch party begins at 7 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock selection show. We'll find out Marshall's opponent. We'll open our text line back up at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More on this edition of The Drive coming up on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Final segment here on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. That means open text the rest of the way. And that number's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back. Paul Swann, your host for today's edition of The Drive. Today's been a fun day. Not only have we been talking women's basketball, of course, unfortunately, we've got to talk men's basketball as well. As earlier today, we found out a couple of Marshall players are now entering the transfer portal. First up, we found out that Pete Moe made the announcement on Twitter, X, that he would be entered the transfer portal. We didn't get to see him on the court this year, the 6'9" redshirt freshman. A lot of potential, a lot of hope that he would turn out to be a 4-year player, a player we could see for many years to come. That's not going to be the case. And then one of the players I wish we saw more of, and that's Marshall guard Cam Crawford, making it known today on X also that he intends to enter the transfer portal, losing a lot of value there, and I think he could have been even more of a valuable player if he was able to play the entire season. Of course, there were times where he didn't make the court. 24 games, 2 starts, 5th leading scorer by average, and only 24 games. Only 24 games. He scored 4 less points than Jacob Connor did in 33 games. Connor averaging a little over 6 points, Crawford averaging a little over 8 points. So I think that that's going to be a big loss for the Thundering Herd. Hopefully the transfer portal will be kind to the Herd as, well, you know, the transfer portal giveth, and it does taketh away as well. So transfer portal definitely needs to be worked here in the future if Marshall basketball is going to stay competitive and be able to keep up with its peer institutions. And I'm not talking about the Alabamas and the Kentuckys and the Dukes and the North Carolinas. I'm not talking about all those types of programs, the Tennessees, the Ohio States, none of that in football or basketball. I'm not talking about that directly. I'm talking about just the schools in your conference. Start there. There's a lot of talent to be found in the transfer portal, and for whatever reason, players are just not sticking around with their schools anymore, and it could be a huge reason. It could be something small. Whatever the case may be, it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. So Marshall's got to be aggressive in recruiting, not only from the high school ranks, but also the transfer portal. And I think what you're going to find is you're going to see talent that comes in, maybe freshman, sophomore, plays well, develops, and then there's going to be those opportunities open up at bigger universities, and you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. Where I'm at right now, is it going to give me a better opportunity, or will I have a better chance elsewhere? And it could be playing time, it could be NIL, it could be a multitude of things. But you can't use the transfer portal as the excuse. If you lose players to the transfer portal, you just have to go out and replace them. You can't depend on anyone. If you were depending on Cameron Crawford going to be on your roster, you can't do that. None of these players that are coming back or at least have eligibility, you can't depend on them. And it's not a slight. It's not a dig on the players. It's just the reality that whatever the circumstances may be in the situation, you might have someone that decides, thanks, but I'm going to take this opportunity over here. And it could be a multitude of reasons. It could be an educational reason. It could be a family issue. It could be a money issue. It could be playing time. And so that's where Marshall has to get better with the transfer portal. I don't care the coach. And Dan D'Antoni more than likely will be the coach. I know some of you are a little dismayed that there hasn't been any movement on that. There hasn't been a statement, an announcement about the direction of the program, or I don't want to say an ultimatum. This is where we're at. This is where we're going to be. This is what we expect. We haven't seen that type of statement from the athletic department, and I don't think we're going to. I don't think that we're going to. It happened in football. I think that was more of a unique situation. We've got a basketball coach that has many years with Marshall University and is well connected to the university in history, tradition. The family supports the university. If you look at Dan D'Antoni, he's Marshall University. It runs through his veins and his blood. He's Marshall University. You'll never be able to separate Marshall University from Dan D'Antoni. It's just that ingrained in him. He loves the university, loves the state, and loves to coach basketball. So I don't think you're going to see anything anytime soon on that. Dan's probably going to walk away when he's ready to go and he doesn't think that he can do anything anymore. So I think that's where we stand right now. I mean, and then again, it's been an interesting dialogue and discussion with a lot of you Should he stay or should he go? And I think we'll find out when it's official. It's official. Best I can do right now. I can't fathom right now where it's going either way. But more than likely, Dan's going to be your head coach. So I hope that Dan is able to take advantage of the transfer portal, take advantage of the new landscape. Hopefully, if he doesn't already, he has what he needs to make it work. From ground up, the support system needs to be able to put basketball as best position it can be. And I think that's what everyone's asking for right now. And, of course, I know there's a lot of disappointment. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I want to thank my guest. I appreciate her coming on today and talking about Marshall women's basketball, and that is Mahogany Matthews. There will be a watch party on Sunday at the Student Center. 7 o'clock is when it's going to begin. There's going to be an autograph session. 8 o'clock, there's going to be the watch party. We'll find out where the Thundering Herd will go in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We'll get to your text tomorrow as well. You can find me on X at Paul Swann. That's the app formerly known as Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow, and we'll get to your text tomorrow.
Retransmitting in Glorious FM on 94.1 W227BS Huntington. This is 930 WRVC Huntington, celebrating 100 years of broadcasting.